Get a drill.
Freedom is very fragile. It's more fragile when we don't know the truth. You're about to be part of FramersView, where truth is the foundation of every day's program. Join us live every weekday right here on Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, here's Neil Frame on FramersView.
Yes, and here is Neil Frame right here on FramersView. Welcome to the show. It is hard to believe it's already Tuesday, and we're past the 250 celebration. Wow. Anything can happen today. It probably will. Hey, Matt, remember, you're going to remember this. Do you remember when I said that chaos is not Trump? It's the Dems creating chaos against Trump, and then they use that against Trump. And you have to give them credit. They're pretty damn successful at doing that. I mean, you have to give credit where credit is due, right? I mean, they get all this smoke and mirrors and crashings and burning and everything, and they claim that, Trump's chaos. And they're the ones doing it. Man, we're going to show that to you today. By the way, I'm chewing on a lozenge. The other day, I bit my mouth so bad. Literally a chunk of tongue. And it's hurting so bad. It's so hard to talk. So if I sound like I'm talking like I don't know how to talk, I'm not making fun of anybody. I just can't talk very well because my tongue hurts so bad. It's okay, though. I'm going to be fine. Life is good. Who are we to complain? I believe the Constitution is going to save us. The defenders of the Constitution are many folds within the process. The big one is the Supreme Court, which honestly, I'm not sure how confident I am in that. We thought that Amy Coney Barrett was going to be, a down-the-line constitutionalist, and she goes seemingly with the Dems almost all the time. Not all the time, but it's more often than you would think when you read the Constitution and then you read what their decisions are. That's number one. Then you've got the House and the Senate. Well, we've got whacked out liberals, and we've got whacked out Republicans that hate Trump, and they're finally admitting it because they don't think Trump can affect their election. I think he can. I think that he can. So they're playing this game and they're pushing us way too far. But in the meantime, the Constitution goes on. This little booklet that was everything that the founders found important to protect and preserve, and did the Revolutionary War and lost their wealth. People lost their lives to fight for America. And I'm proud of them for that. And I'm proud of this country. And you know what? I'm also, and this is a big part of it, I'm also proud of the people from other countries that are willing to say, wow, This place is great. People are so friendly. America's a great place. Of course, you shouldn't be surprised, and I'm not surprised, because here's the deal. You've got that thing called Ellis Island. You might have heard of it. They had tens and hundreds and millions of people come into Ellis Island because they wanted to get to freedom. And yeah, you could say Europe is a free country or a section of this world. Kinda. Yeah. Careful what you say in England, because there's a high probability if you say something they don't like, they will shut you down. And then you don't have to get, very far away from the Europe itself to see what happens. I mean, Poland's a good example of pushing back. Poland is one of the countries that basically says, yeah, you know what? We need to kind of duplicate what happens in the United States with our beliefs, and intertwined, weaved, as Donald Trump would say. But I wanted to point that out because as we go through today, we're going to talk about the Americans that are total hypocrites, that won't tell you the truth. And my dog does not like it when you don't tell the truth. Right now, I mean, she not going to put up with it. Thanks, Pickles. We're okay. She's my guard into my studio. But I don't think anybody understands just how crazy that is until we show some of these things. So we're going to have that. And we're going to also show you what the possibilities are. So we can get on with the point. We've got oligarchy. We've got Pocahontas and what she's been doing. Sonny Hostin. This is, in my opinion, one of the ultimate examples, of racist. She's the racist. Now, are there racists on the Democrat or Republican side? Yeah. Are there people that aren't Democrats that are white that are racist? Yes. Are there people that make fun of handicapped people? Yes. Are there people that make fun of people that aren't good at sports? Yeah. People make fun of, disagree with, hate other people that aren't just like them. You're always going to have that. Can't remember the guy's name. He's a little guy. It's okay to call him a midget. He's a comedian. And he was talking about his father taught him, hey, look, you've got to have comebacks. You're going to be made fun of when you get into school. And it's a hilarious piece. But it's a good point. First of all, give up on the thin-skinned, everybody hurts my feelings BS. If you don't like it, say it. If you don't appreciate somebody saying something towards you that you don't care for, tell them. If they don't like that, just say, hey, I'm not that. Or you're wrong. Or I really don't care what you think. But we'll talk about that. There's moderates on the Democrat side that you would think would be good candidates for president, that would support Republican Party, that would do a lot of things. I'm going to show you why that doesn't happen. And of course, Trump destroyed the 250. It's over. They destroyed the 250 celebration with Trump. And, there's no chance. And, we should have had Kamala, I guess. That's what they're saying. And then some other stuff. So I want to set the stage because when you really contemplate what is going on right now and what people say and how we've lost our freedoms and how we've lost this and we've lost that, and we can't have this and we can't have that, and the prices are too high, and that's because America isn't great anymore, and all of those things. And if you have a brain, just a little bit more than what an ant has, maybe ants outbrain some people. I've got an example of that at the end of the show. You will realize something very important, and that is that when you think you're the only answer, you're going to walk into a trap. When you think that you can tell people that you have no rights any longer, there's always something at the top, right up here, right up there next to my antlers, right up there. And you're going to see that there's something that protects us. It's called the Constitution. And I mentioned earlier, the Supreme Court is the first protection for us. This is a great piece on the Constitution and the absolutes that it offers. Watch this.
About the Declaration, there is a finality that is exceedingly restful. It is often asserted that the world has made a great deal of progress since 1776, that we've had new thoughts, new experiences, which have given us a great advance over the people of that day, and that we may therefore very well discard their conclusions for something more modern. But that reasoning cannot be applied to this great charter. If all men are created equal, that is final. If they are endowed with inalienable rights, that is final. If governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, that is final. No advance, no progress can be made beyond these propositions. If anyone wishes to deny their truth or their soundness, the only direction in which he can proceed historically is not forward, but backward, toward the time when there was no equality, no rights of the individual, no rule of the people. Those who wish to proceed in that direction cannot lay claim to progress. They are reactionary. Their ideas are not more modern, but more ancient than those of the Revolutionary Fathers.
I thought that is a perfect example of what I've been talking about. There's absolutes, unalienable rights. We have things no other country is offered. There's no way to get around that. And so as we go along today, I'm going to show you that. And one of the really, really good examples is Bernie Sanders. Boy, if you look up hypocrisy, his picture is right there. He has no idea how stupid he looks sometimes. Watch this, and we'll talk about it.
How can I get by on one house? I need 5 houses.
I own 3 residences. Yeah, I do.
I need jet planes to take me all over the world.
Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that.
Sorry, the American people. We've got the money. We've got the power.
Guess what? I'm a United States Senator.
Yeah. Guess what? I'm a United States Senator, and I'm more important than you are. That's basically what they're saying. And it will continue this way until somebody finally says enough is enough, until somebody finally has had enough. And once that occurs, we're going to stop it by voting. I've talked about this before. We have to vote. We have to get the vote out. We have to make that happen, because if we don't, we have a real problem. And there's an ugliness that's in the darkness that we don't even know about, that I saw the other day, and I was like, and it was too much news to put this out in the last couple of days. And that is the people that work for the Dems and who they represent. Watch this. This is going to blow you away. This is Liz Warren's former staff member. Watch.
He was a leader to all people of the world who struggle against imperialism, against arrogance, against Zionism, against genocide. To me, he was the greatest anti-imperialist leader to have lived during my lifetime. Goes away
and I can't get my sound.
He was a leader to all people of the world who struggle against imperialism, against arrogance, against Zionism, against genocide. To me, he was the greatest anti-imperialist leader to have lived during my lifetime.
She's talking about Khomeini and how amazing he was and how thoughtful he was and how everything is, you know, with him. And it's stupid. I'm going to try one more time.
He was a leader to all people of the world who struggle against imperialism, against arrogance, against Zionism, against genocide.
But the people that Liz Warren has working for her and other politicians, if they don't know that, then they're stupid. And if they do know that, that tells you what they really think. And that's why voting makes a difference. That's why we have to do this. There's never been a time when we don't have this problem. We have the press now that has a left and a right side. I'd like to say everybody is in the middle and they report the news as the news is. But we all know that there's opinions or our personal feelings that affect the way we report things. And we can't get around that in any way. So when there's always somebody complaining and saying that it's too dangerous, it's too stupid, it's this and that about America, when foreigners come here and recognize in days how great it is to be here, that tells you that the Dems just aren't getting their way, which is different from what we were talking about what's right or wrong. So Sunny Hostin, you know who she is. She works at the View. She's a black lawyer. She's written a book. She's on The View. She's as left as you can get. And she makes some comments that just drives me nuts. First of all, remember that she lives in a very, very high-end, gated community where it's mostly white people. But here's what she says.
I said this on this show many, many years ago, because this is my 10th year on the show, and I said there are times when I walk into a community and I see American flags all over the community, and I suddenly feel unsafe because there is a section of this country that has co-opted the American flag, and they equate being an American or an American flag with white supremacy, and that should never be the symbol of white supremacy, but they have weaponized.
Because the flag belongs to all of us.
It does belong to all of us.
Yeah, it does. And you're frightened when you see a community with a bunch of flags? Really? You multimillionaire? And I don't know how old she is. When I was a kid, do you want to see racism? Go back to the 50s and the 60s and before. But for me, go back to those times. See blacks beaten to hell. As I've said, white and black water fountains, bathrooms, sit in the back of the bus. People won't do business with them. That isn't what it is now. It just isn't. There's no way to get around that. And she actually believes it. This is a true example of a neurotic. Somebody that has truly lost their compass. They don't know what true north is. They have no idea what other people do or think. It is just a matter of she thinks that everybody hates blacks without any evidence. Look at it. What's the show? I can't remember the name of the show. I don't watch game shows. Steve Harvey is the host. Black guy, funny as hell. Well, if there were racism, would we see him on TV and have the highest rated game show? No, because nobody would watch him because it's white people watching and we're not going to watch a black guy. That would be the attitude. So don't tell me that. But the other part of it is when you really think about, I was just talking about TV show. How about blacks that managed to get into office by being elected in a mostly white district? Trey Gowdy brings this up. And I saw this and I thought to myself, this has to be shown. And we have to think about it. First of all, Trey Gowdy is a brilliant mind, hell of a golfer. Brilliant mind, capable of separating the wheat from the chaff, as they say, and talk about the reality. Watch this.
For the last 50 years, the left has gotten from 5 lawyers what it could not get from 250 million voters. So I am sure they are frustrated. I mean, literally, if you look at the transformational change in this country over the last 50 years, it's been 5 people with law degrees. It has not been the voters. So I'm sure Senator Warnock is frustrated. But what I find so bitterly ironic is their latest frustration is the Supreme Court and a Voting Rights Act case. Raphael Warnock is living proof that a black man can win in a majority white district. He just did it in Georgia. He doesn't need his own district cut out for him that only a person of color could win. He won in Georgia. He is the single best evidence, he and my friend Tim Scott, that you don't need special districts for people of color to win.
Boy, yeah, you don't. Now, I would question how in the hell he won, but that's aside from the point. It's about black people do get elected. Tim Scott, he keeps getting reelected. He's a powerhouse in the Democratic Party. He's a powerhouse everywhere he goes. And he's black. As George Carlin said, they're not African American, they're blacks. Blacks hate being called African Americans. They're not from Africa. They're black people. And don't call them people of color. It's a great bit on that. Respect the blacks. Those who are saying we have to call them African Americans are racist. Man. Thank you, Trey. I don't know if you really follow these things anywhere near as much as I do, but as I watch this, I think to myself, what are the chances that Trump and his support for politicians and the things that are going on the Dem side and nobody really being a powerhouse on the Democrat side, how could we possibly lose in 26? But it could happen. The odds are against us. And we still have to make it work. Now, I mentioned the idea of, a leader. Who is a leader in the Democrat Party? Somebody that could bring people together, somebody that's more moderate, that isn't talking this crazy stuff. And the answer, you might think, is Shapiro from Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. But he's not a moderate. And like Ro Khanna, who at beginning, you think he's a moderate. You watch him on Fox News, seems like a moderate. But is he? No, he's supporting Plattner, was. We'll get into that in a little bit. He was supporting Plattner. And now? Well, he can't. But Shapiro says some things, a couple of items that are really important to know. He's being interviewed about everything's on the table for the election coming up. This is stunning. Watch this.
What do you believe Democrats should do if they do regain the majority? Do you think that expanding the court or setting term limits for the court should be on the table?
I think everything needs to be on the table. I think we need radical reform that's actually going to ensure that the voices of the people are heard from.
Really? So, do you agree with the idea of packing the Supreme Court? Everything's on the table. What? Okay. Jim Jordan said 2 weeks ago, he was interviewing in a hearing some people that were talking about the Supreme Court and expanding it. And all of that was being pushed by these Dems. And Jim Jordan said, why don't we just go ahead and do it now? And of course, the people he was interviewing were like, no, we've got to pack it with Democrats. That should tell you everything you need to know. So Shapiro, who really has a chance or had a chance, is messing it up. Look at this. Jonathan Turley, Shapiro could have been a contender, but he caved to the loons. Shapiro has finally reached his Terry Mallia moment. In the classic movie On the Waterfront, the character tells his brother of losing it all, his shot to be a champion and a person of respect. You don't understand. I could have been the class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it, he said in the movie. Shapiro decided to deliver his defining moment on MS Now, Morning Joe, when he abandoned all principles and decided to join the Democratic establishment leaders in offering the Supreme Court to the radical left. Shapiro used the common coded reference to court packing, calling for radical reform of the court. The only radical form being seriously discussed is packing the institution with an immediate liberal majority to reverse a series of recent decisions and to greenlight an equally radical agenda for changes to our political system. Shapiro could have been different. He could have offered the country moderation and pushed back on the radical elements of his party. Shapiro was reportedly rejected as a vice presidential candidate due to being Jewish and is a member of the party that is careening toward anti-Semitism. This is the guy now that says all things are on the table. He could have been the mature voice within his party, cautioning restraint before destroying one of our core institutions. Instead, he chose to just be another bum in the American politics. What a shame. You know, I say what a shame, but in reality, it isn't a shame. It's just what it is. It's what he is. It finally comes out. And so he wouldn't get Republicans to vote for him. But even more importantly, he's not going to get Dems to even let him be a candidate because he's Jewish. He's got the double whammy. That's where the problem lies. So, with that said, and all of the things that go on with that, and then we go to the whole 250 celebration. Remember, at the beginning of the show, declaration, then all the people that hate, all the people that are anti-oligarchs that are oligarchs, all of the people that are against America. And then you have what I think, and nobody made a big deal about this because there were a couple of states like this. They decided to not represent their state at the 250 celebration in Washington, D.C., to have a booth, an appearance there. They decided not to do it. So a congressman from North Carolina apologizes. Look at this.
It's unbelievably unfortunate that our governor chose to not send representation from North Carolina to help celebrate such a momentous occasion and show patriotism. But I know a lot of North Carolinians back at home. I know the folks in my district are patriots, and they certainly will be celebrating. I think it's a political statement. I've heard from many of my colleagues that they intend to spend the 4th here in Washington, D.C. We're going to have a celebration like never before. This is the epicenter of America's celebration.
And he was right. Huge attendance, then a storm. Everybody had to leave. And they still got over 100,000 people back at, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock? America cares. But the media is a whole different story. Look at this. Media attacks Donald Trump's 4th of July celebration, claiming it sullied America 250. Mainstream media and media pundits accused President Donald Trump of ruining America 250 and July 4th celebrations over the last week, even prior to nationwide celebrations. A direct example came on Friday when the New York Times opinion writer Robin Given wrote her op-ed titled, "Trump Ruined the 4th of July for Me. But this year I can barely tolerate the sight of red, white, and blue," she wrote. When combined into a maximalist display of nationalist cheerleading and colors that make my heart ache. The flags on federal buildings are grand, but they hang alongside banners featuring President Trump's scowling face. Really? His scowling face? You mean like this one? Yeah, there's a scowling face. But they're not going to talk about that, are they? No, they're not going to talk about that because that wouldn't work for them. That wouldn't be possible. And so the idea that Trump sullied the 250 celebration, he stood up there and spoke and brought out World War II, Korean, Vietnam veterans, had the flags of America that makes the fabric of our country, that creates a feeling of faith and hope for America. And these jackasses say he's sullied the 250 celebration. They can't stand it. They can't stand it that this guy that they have a vehement hate for is winning, is successful, that gets a job done. Not like them who fail, who can't do anything, who lie, who obfuscate all the time. They can't stand it because he keeps bringing up stuff, technical term, that they don't want anybody to know about. I mean, it's just that simple. And when you hate a winner in sports, you're supporting the other team. What's the other team you're supporting when you hate Trump, who's made America better? What is it? Other than you are losing your power. Therein lies their problem. And it's not just hate, it's jealousy. It's so many different things. And Scott Jennings has a little video that I wanted to share with you. And after we do this, I want to give you a statistic that'll blow you away. This is Scott Jennings on CNN. And they're talking about the billionaires. And, well, they have no right to have that much money. They're no right at all. Watch this.
Should be some checks and balances in this society. People should not be allowed to have $1 trillion. No human needs that much money.
Do you think that these ultra wealthy people who are approaching $1 trillion, do you think that there's more that they should be doing to give back to the societies that helped them get rich? Do you think that they should be doing more?
I think it's up to them. I think that many of them, and Arthur mentioned one, they do a lot. But it's not for me or you or any of us here to tell someone else what to do with what they earned.
Governments do that every single day. It's called taxes.
Yeah, I know. And the rich people in this country pay the vast majority of taxes. And I hear people today saying, oh, it's time that we tax the rich. Folks, I got news for you. We already tax the rich. They pay the vast majority of tax. And I think Elon Musk is the single largest taxpayer in America, and he'll be even bigger now. But is it for us to sit around and say there's a limit on what you can build, there's a limit on what you can earn, and it's now my job to tell you what to do with your money? Hell no.
That's right. Hell no. Elon Musk is a genius. He is a doer. He's successful. And here's the most important thing. They can't stand Musk, can't stand it that he's the first trillionaire. Let's see. Musk employs 160,000 employees within his organizations. 160,000. And he's a trillionaire. But does he have $1 trillion? I'll bet you, as far as ready cash that he could give to you in 1 hour, is less than $4 million. That's actually liquid cash. He has investments. He's got finances committed to projects that are going on. He doesn't have that money. And he paid $11 billion in taxes. I think it was in 23. Is that enough, you morons? You see what I'm saying? Oh, by the way, George Soros, the billionaire that is supporting all these Dems, and they never talk about him. Guess how many he employs? 500. Not 160,000. 500. So shut up. Pretty simple, isn't it? Just shut up. But the Dems are not that smart. And I've got two examples of that, one coming up and one a little bit later here. But when you consider the Dems who think they're really smart get put on a spot, they're lost. They don't know what to do with that. They will crumble. It's the same as when they go out and interview and they say, what is a socialist, to somebody on the street that's anti-socialist? They don't even know it. They don't know what it is. What is a fascist? I don't know. Ashley Moody was in a hearing in the Senate talking to a woman that was being questioned. And Ashley Moody asked something, and until you really watch this and think about it, it's interesting why she's asking this question. Watch this.
What attorneys are here with you at this hearing, assisting with your testimony and whispering in your ear? Please state their names for the record.
My two attorneys that are in the room would be happy to follow up with you after the discussion.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would like the record to reflect that you have called a hearing of two people who have hired anti-Trump lawyers and is now refusing, now that they're in the courtroom and helping with testimony and passing notes on what to say, refusing to give their names to those of us that may not know their names. I mean, is there a reason you don't want to give their names? Are you afraid that it's going to come unraveled, that you have this whole network of people that's trying to embarrass the president or go after the president, and now you are joining this group? I mean, why don't you want to give their names?
The answer to that is They're not prepared. They don't know what to say. So they put a team behind them. And this team is there specifically to lean forward and whisper an answer to him because this person doesn't know. So they bring their lackeys with them to hopefully save them. That's what this is. And this is just an example of how crazy it is. So I want to show you Marco Rubio, which I didn't used to be a big Rubio fan. I remember when he spoke after the State of the Union, and he had water running off of him, and he kept drinking water, and he was like, it wasn't that impressive. And now we know the truth about him, how smart he is, how successful he has been, how he's found fraud and worked with the FBI and the CIA and everybody else. And honestly, is a contender to run for president in 28. We'll see what JD does. But he's a contender. It's time to wake up about socialism. That's what Rubio is saying. Watch this.
Democratic socialism sounds benign, but at the core of democratic socialism is Marxism. And at the core of Marxism is this fake offer that if you turn over more of your individual freedom, we're going to provide you security. We're going to provide you free healthcare. We're going to provide you free education. But the problem is that when they can't deliver on it, or when you're not happy with it, you don't get your freedoms back. And by freedoms, I don't just mean elections. I'm talking about the right to choose your own doctor, the right to make healthcare decisions for yourself, what your kids learn in school, what schools they go to. All that stuff you lose control over, and you don't get it back just because the security they promised you didn't happen. So that's what we're on the verge of having to decide here in this country. It's a reason why people flee countries that have this stuff. It's a big deal for America, and I hope people start waking up to that reality.
It's time to wake up. And I think those who watch this show, you've already awakened. But understand, people on the other side hate America. It's so clear. You know, the idea of bringing socialism, take out capitalism, be communistic, that doesn't make sense. I want to try real quickly to try to play the video with Sunny Hostin. I'm hoping I fixed the sound on this. When she's talking about how the flag scares her.
I said this on this show many, many years ago, because this is my 10th year on the show, and I said there are times when I walk into a community and I see American flags all over the community, and I suddenly feel unsafe because there is a section of this country that has co-opted the American flag, and they equate being an American or an American flag with white supremacy, and that should never be the symbol of white supremacy, but they have weaponized.
Because the flag belongs to all of us.
It does belong to all of us.
Yeah, you jackass. It belongs to all of us, and we can all put it out because we're proud of America. Not because we hate black people. Sonny, how lost do you have to be to think, to have that in your head, to believe those kind of things? I really don't believe she's that stupid. I think that she insists on pushing that. Pushing it and pushing it. And it's her attempt to try to hurt Trump, to try to hurt Republicans, and she's failing. Speaking of failing, you know, Trump, he has a way about him. Again, there's times I wish he'd just stop with some of the things he says. But this is an example of a time. He calls Hakeem Jeffries the dumbest man in politics. And Hakeem Jeffries bit. He took the bait, and he's made a threat, so to speak. He's challenged Trump. Watch this, and then we'll talk about it. This is classic. Hakeem Jeffries talking about Trump saying that he's dumb. He being Hakeem.
This low IQ guy, Hakeem
that
Jeffries,
what fueled
totally
their passions against Trump
and he's
was a
always
sense
ranting and raving.
of righteous indignation.
Terrible,
They were standing up for justice. They were upholding morality that they said Trump was an affront to. And now what we all realize that that was all a facade. That we just had not more than a week ago very serious allegations against this very same guy who's now the defender of women. So to me, it seems like maybe a defender of women for my Democratic friends when it's convenient for them. It doesn't necessarily matter the 10 plus years of arguments we've made about morals and ethics against Trump, and Republicans even power Trump because we can win a seat. To me, any argument that Democrats have framed against Trump, against Republicans, is now null and void. They have revealed themselves to be nothing but hypocrites, nothing but liars. And I think as we get into the general election, you're going to see the case made by Susan Collins, made by the NRSC, that Democrats are not the people that they said.
I had to fix that. Sorry. I'm going to try this again because you got to hear this. This is Hakeem Jeffries. When you're working alone, sometimes it doesn't work out. Talking about Trump calling him stupid.
This low IQ guy, Hakeem Jeffries, is a totally low IQ person, and he's always ranting and raving. Oh, this war is so terrible, terrible. They shouldn't be saying that when we're in the midst of a negotiation, because it does hurt us somewhat. It gives the other side some hope, and I don't want them to have hope.
If Donald Trump wants to debate me anytime, any place, in the Oval Office, publicly, on camera, I'd be happy to do it. And we'll see who's intellectually superior in that type of contest. I've got no doubts as to what the outcome would be. And it's extraordinary to me that Donald Trump keeps recycling this low IQ insult. This is from the dumbest president ever to sit at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And there's not even a close second. Instead of insulting people all over the world, and I'm not really worried about what he has to say about me, he's insulting our allies. He's worsening the United States' security posture in doing so. He's fighting with his own MAGA base. The economy is collapsing. It's a train wreck, which is why it's going to take Democrats to get things back on track.
Yeah, Democrats are going to get us back on track. You betcha. Yeah, they're going to do that. You know, for him to even say he's the dumbest president ever. Really? His success, his ability to succeed, you cannot call a person like that has the success that he's had, dumbest person ever. As president or just a human being. I've talked about Philo Farnsworth, the guy that invented television, that worked with my dad. I knew him personally. And if you talk to him and you didn't know about him, you think, this guy's got a problem. His brain was huge. I don't know how he walked, but it was kind of amazing. And it is an example of where we are today, that we could be this far out of control that we would say the things, or he would say the things that he did. And I don't know. Before we do this last piece, I'd like to share with you just a real quick thing about Rumble Wallet. You may have heard me talking about Rumble Wallet before. Rumble Wallet is obviously from Rumble, and it's we hear about crypto, but here's what most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, well, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today. Everyone heard about crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. It's just a few minutes, and you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. That's a big deal. Do it. You'll be glad you did. It's Rumble Wallet. So when I think about all of the places that I've been and the people that I've seen, sometimes I look at these times and I think to myself, there's people out there that we would recognize as, yeah, this is a scary person, and other people don't get it. And one of those is Graham Plattner. You may have heard this story. If you haven't, you need to know. Plattner looks like he's going to have to drop out because once again, the truth is coming out. And this is even more dangerous than it was. Watch this.
People, maybe even his campaign, certainly his supporters, who say this is politically motivated. What would you say to that?
I couldn't disagree more. That was actually one of the reasons that I didn't come out.
Because you agree with his politics.
I do. I really agree with his politics. I think we need somebody with those political stances and who are willing to do the work. And, I see his political videos. They get me fired up as well. I understand why people want someone like him in office. And I felt like me coming forward would potentially take that away. And I felt really uncomfortable with the responsibility and the weight of my story and what that might do.
Whew. First of all, God bless her. She's a rape victim. The last thing you want to do is be in front of a camera and people know that you've been raped. That's a very private situation. And I'm sorry that she went through that. But this is a person that did this, that was raped, that was a supporter of Plattner. Wow. And she would have voted for him, but she just couldn't let it happen. I wrote down a note, supporter, rape victim. Are you really, politicians, are you really that stupid? Or do you want to win that badly? Do you really have to push this envelope to a point where a rapist, a guy that pleasures himself in a bathroom, in a porta potty, a person that has abused women above and beyond not just rape, but rape, and you want him to be a senator? Are you kidding me? I don't know. I had something pop up on my screen. I get messages, sometimes get my attention. There's a building that is looking like it's going to collapse in New York City. That's a big deal. Right now, as I look at it, it hasn't happened. Thank goodness. From what I can tell, it has not happened yet. But there's bricks that's breaking out of the building. They've been redoing the building to put in 1,600 units because business isn't downtown anymore in Manhattan. So they're trying to make it living locations where all the millionaires will have to live because that's the only way you could afford to live there. But that's what's happening right now as an instant thing. Maybe we'll have more update on that tomorrow. Hey, thank you for putting up with my slurring of my words from my bit tongue and the pain that I'm experiencing. I'm calling it quits at this point. I had a few other things we'll throw in tomorrow, but I appreciate you being here. I'll be back here tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern time, and we will continue to show you the fun and frolic of what's happening in America. Until then, rock on.
Thanks for your support. Join the FramersView Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for your support. Join the FramersView Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.